why am I going to install SharePoint 2016 onto my network? And the answer is like saying, why do you go and buy a Swiss Army knife or another multi-tool? The answer is because I want to be able to have tools at hand with which to accomplish certain goals. Let's talk about some of those goals. Collaboration is our first one. So we're talking about being able to allow for multiple users in my network to be able to coordinate, to be able to have someone put a file up on the network and someone else to be able to check out that file and work with it, make changes over time. Someone else to be able to, once those changes are made, to be able to review that document and validate that it's okie dokie. Eventually, at some point, maybe someone else, when that file is no longer needed on the network, to validate that and delete that file. Go ahead and purge it from the network, say, yeah, we don't need it anymore. All of that is a part of the collaboration experience that is associated with SharePoint. And that can be with something as specific and direct as working with files, but it also can be the way that we follow each other, track each other, share information, convey announcements, shared calendars, all sorts of wiki type of collaboration in a web page format. Collaboration is a huge piece of what we do inside of SharePoint. Another thing that we're going to do with this centralized web-based front end is search. One of the great things we can do is, again, we can take all sorts of web content, we can take file content, and we can put it up into SharePoint, and then we have not only the SharePoint server itself as a repository of all that information, but we can actually have an engine that can search that and find it for you in various different repositories that you might build up over time for different departments and different purposes, as well as the ability for that search engine that we define within SharePoint to also be able to search out things like Exchange public mailboxes, to be able to go out and search the internet, capital I out there, to be able to search through your shared folder repositories that are on your network and be able to put all that in one place. It can even go into your external line of business databases and be able to pull trusted information out. That's huge to be able to find all that in one place. And so SharePoint can do that for you. Enterprise content management is associated with being able to take individual files and be able to do things like e-discovery and be able to find any file that has a certain property or a certain value in it that is associated with maybe a project or a person or a litigation, something like that. We also can do things like convert standard documents into records so that they can be tracked and managed as appropriate. So it's about recognizing that not all content needs to be created equally. We can tag it, we can reference it, we can look for it, and we can manage it, essentially have workflows associated with it over time. Now, web content management is a little bit different. Here we're focused on the idea that much of our content is going to be viewed through the eyes of being seen in a web browser. So we're posting it to the internet and observing that, but it's really SharePoint content, but it just looks like a regular website. Well, there's this idea of being able to publish content, being able to author content, and that those are two different things. Someone first needs to author it correctly, then it needs to be published into a format that's available for the end user, which might involve questions of language. It might involve questions of format for being able to see that in various different types of platforms, right? Is it desktop? Is it a tablet? Is it a phone? And so these are components that SharePoint can help to divide out and then support being able to get the best possible content, the most trusted content available in a format that is consumable by the audience. And then finally, social computing. A big part of SharePoint that is actually available is the ability to work with social computing. So I post a particular document. That document is located within a website. Well, others might want to follow the site and notice when anything gets posted. They might want to follow this document and notice if anyone ever changes it. They might want to follow me and see if I ever post any other documents or things that might be relevant. Additionally, like other social media sites, I have the ability to say, here's X project. Again, I can post essentially announcements in a feed type of format. We can hashtag, we can have metadata references that make it easier to track and find what we're looking for. And we even have specifically collaborative sites that are built out that are designed to allow us to have a forum type of environment, an open forum where we can communicate, and it can be moderated, and you have a certain amount of support for being able to excel in that environment for those who do well there. So that's a big part of why we install SharePoint. But why would we install SharePoint 2016? That's the question at hand. SharePoint 2016, the new and improved, well, it has an even better interface for mobile to make it very touch-friendly. Right? We want to be able to jump in there and touch it and work with a mobile environment, and then jump to it in a desktop environment, be able to see what we want. People-centric insights and data. There's been a real focus on trying to elevate how people view content and make it around what the people are looking for and what inspires them. Now, the cloud-inspired aspect of it. In prior releases, the on-premises version of SharePoint would drive what was available on the internet version of SharePoint, Office 365 SharePoint Online. Okay. Now, that development has accelerated to the point where the new technology is being applied in the Office 365 environment and is now coming down to rest in, for example, SharePoint 2016. So we've changed where the origin is coming from. Now, here's the good news, gang. If it's cloud-inspired, that means it is designed to be scalable. You can work your way up to thousands and thousands and thousands of users, and there's an infrastructure in place that can support that. So it can perform to the degree you need, it is reliable, and we can have the best of both worlds. We can actually have some of our content available inside of SharePoint 2016 on premises and some of it up in the cloud. And finally, 2016 has made some major improvements in the way that it handles data protection. So being able to secure your data, lock it down, ensure that you're able to monitor that data, defining records and things like that. A lot of things that we said were a part of enterprise management of content comes in here to support compliance. So data protection, data monitoring, and being able to review what you're monitoring and be able to get statistics on it and derive information. That's our analytics. So key things associated with cloud inspired and integrated, improved compliance to secure that data, and the user experience is easier to work with. It is designed to be fast, flexible, and easy to work with in SharePoint 2016. So I'm excited about it as the new generation of SharePoint. It's got a lot going for it. I've worked with SharePoint for many generations. If you've worked with it back in the days when it was associated with a particular front page web editor back in the day, congratulations. If not, that's no problem. If you're jumping in right here, it's a good time to be working with SharePoint.